Vous l'avez bien compris, on parle de journée internationale de la presse. Aujourd'hui, cette liberté de la presse qui est donc un des principes fondamentaux de la démocratie, et on avait l'occasion à travers l'Union francophone, l'Union de la presse francophone du PF, qui a donc organisé hier à l'École supérieure des sciences et techniques de l'information et de la communication une séance d'échange entre des journalistes seniors et des jeunes élèves de l'ESTIC hier même à l'amphithéâtre Hervé Bourges. On a donc l'occasion de parler aujourd'hui de la journée internationale de la presse, et la presse en parle ce matin. Good morning.
Bonjour Rosolinga.
How is it today, Clarence Gay?
Je suis très content.
Très content de célébrer cette presse, justement.
C'est mon anniversaire aussi.
Ah, quand même, je me prends de court en plus. Joyeux anniversaire.
I was born on the 3rd, le 3 mai.
Et c'est pas...
It's a coincidence, yeah. I was born
c'est une belle coïncidence, et il y a des signes qui ne trompent pas. Dès la naissance, vous saviez déjà, vous aviez un avenir tout tracé. Il fallait devenir journaliste, ça ne pouvait pas être autrement. Alors, we talk today about the Freedom Day, World Freedom Press
World Press Freedom Day.
Yes.
You're correct. Yeah, of course, most of the newspapers this morning selected for our viewers talking about this important celebration that will begin in a few hours from now. Journalists across the country, different associations of journalists, unions of journalists will be celebrating. And of course, there is a strong message from the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres as far as this day is concerned. Don't forget, when an international day or a world day is being celebrated, he always comes out with a particular message for that event.
Justement, ce message du secrétaire général de l'ONU qui a donc été publié il y a quelques jours, qui dit « Notre liberté dépend de la liberté de la presse ». Je vous souhaite donc un joyeux anniversaire. Je sais que vous la célébrez davantage aujourd'hui. Clarence Gay, je vous souhaite tout simplement de célébrer avec faste votre journée internationale de la liberté de la presse. C'est la presse, vous en parlez tout de suite dans le cadre de tabloïd en langue anglaise.
Wednesday, the 3rd day of this new month of May. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Clarence Gay, always happy to be with you. Cameroon Tribune, of course, was always the first as far as our newspaper selections concerned. Liberté de Presse, World Press Freedom Day, the main headline carried by Cameroon Tribune this morning, the main headline of that national bilingual daily Cameroon Tribune, which is saying that 700 newspaper organs, 200 radio stations, a few television channels, and dozens of online media across the country will celebrate the 30th edition of World Press Freedom Day today across the country. Another story to get in the domain of athletics, that discipline, that sports discipline. Cameroon wins 3 medals at the Junior African Athletic Championship taking place in Ndola, Zambia. Pages 28 and 29 of the National Bilingual Daily Cameroon Tribune will be giving you more of that good news coming from Zambia. News Watch still on the World Press Freedom Day. In line with today's celebration of World Press Freedom Day, Dr. Fomuyo weeps for Cameroon's suffocating press. That is one of the headlines of the News Watch paper this day. The founder and president of Fomuyo Foundation, of course, civil society activist, faults, says government, is accusing the government for failing to create enabling environment for press to thrive. He calls for decriminalization of press offenses to drive democratic advancement. That is what the News Watch paper publication is telling us this morning. This other story to read in the News Watch newspaper. The mobile telecom or telephone companies have pledged to fix network disruptions after the recent flight mode protests that went viral across the country. Page 10 of Newswatch has that. Away from Newswatch, The Voice newspaper, Dr. Christopher, this time around, says calls for concrete measures to enhance press freedom. He says Cameroon should enact a Freedom of Information Act, decriminalize press offenses. Meanwhile, the president of the Southwest Regional Assembly, Zacchaeus Elango Bakome, warns contractors within the region to respect their terms of contracts. As he says, the Southwest Regional Assembly is not a private entity. The English language daily, The Guardian Post newspaper, with this sad story, this human interest story, Pendamboko, it is in the Littoral region. Suspected armed fighters reportedly killed 3 soldiers. At least 3 soldiers who have been reportedly being shot. They were shot alongside a commercial motorbike rider in Pendamboko, a locality in Banga subdivision, Mongo division of the Littoral region. The 3 victims are reported to have been killed by suspected gunmen, that is the suspected gunmen who are likely to be the Ambazonian fighters operating in Moyoka subdivision in the Southwest region. And of course, that is what the Guardian Post newspaper is giving us this morning in one of its, of course, in its main headline, as you can find on the screen there. The Sun newspaper, away from the Guardian Post, the Sun, with these reactions from SDF Senator Mushige Vanegansen, of course, who is the Vice President in the upper house of Parliament, the Senate. He was interviewed by the Sun newspaper, and this is his reactions. He says, "My appointment to the Senate suffered no illegitimacy. Their critics are myopic." Of course, he is referring to his detractors. SDF representation in institutions does not reflect their strength on the field. SDF party chairman John Frundi remains an icon, and only history will judge him. And the youths between 40 to 60 years should be the leaders of tomorrow's SDF party. Those were some of the reactions from Senate Vice President of the Senate, SDF Senator Vanegansen Mushige. The Eagle's Eye this day headlines: the ancestors of Madingolo have enthroned SDF Vice Chairman and MP Honorable Joshua Osi, the Member of Parliament of the Lower House of Parliament for Vuri Center Constituency, Littoral Region. The Eagle Eye writes that he has added another new feather on his plethora of caps, another responsibility on his soldiers, the astute politician in the country. Meanwhile, the people of Mayo Sanava North Constituency, Far North Region, jubilates over a borehole from their Member of Parliament, Honorable Kwaba Solange. The offer comes to, of course, salvage water crisis in the constituency. Details in page 3 of the Eagle's Eye newspaper. The Volcanic Times. The Volcanic Times this May 3rd says decentralization drive. President Paul Biya devolves the Ministry of Secondary Education's functions to regional councils. He empowers them to recruit, support staff, contract teachers. The regional councils can now equip, construct, carry out maintenance in schools. Main headline of the Volcanic Times, and this other story to find still the same newspaper in page 9 of the Volcanic Times carries details of a milestone taken by Cameroon College of Arts and Science, Kaskumba, which recently celebrates its golden jubilee in a grand style. The median newspaper publication, Chad Cameroon pipeline feud. Frank Biya has no stakes in the Savannah Energy. Kaskumba is a citadel of learning that recently celebrates its golden jubilee. Those are some of the summary headlines you can find in the median newspaper. Why the energy of Cameroon, NEO, is owing 186 billion CFA francs in electricity supply as the company faces liquidity crisis. You can find that also, the details of that story about NGUEH, the media newspaper. And we conclude this slot on Cameroon Daylight press review tabloid with Reality Plus. The Upper Plateau of the West region, the Upper Plateau division, now has a new senior divisional officer, Ernest Mbele, who was installed recently by the governor of the West region, our Fonka Augustine. You can also find more of that story in pages 6 and 7 of Reality Plus, which is a French language daily. Thanks for being there, and of course, do have a wonderful day. Happy World Press Freedom Day to all journalists. Thanks, and tomorrow is another day.